Let's start chapter 3, decimals. Now, we have already studied the concepts of decimal fractions in class 6. Now, we will going to learn more about these decimals. In this chapter, we will learn multiplication and division of a decimal fraction. So first, let's see what are decimal fractions. The fraction in which we have denominator as 10, 100, 1000. These types of fractions are known as decimal fractions. So, a fraction whose denominator is 10, we will call it as one place decimal. The fraction whose denominator is 100, we call it as two place decimal. A fraction whose denominator is 1000, we call it as three place decimal. And so on. Now decimals. The numbers that we expressed in decimal form are known as decimal numbers, or we simply call it decimals. For example, 6.5, 2.509, these all are decimals. So we can easily see that decimal has two parts. Whole number, this 6 is known as the whole number. 5 is known as the decimal number. So this is the decimal part and this is the whole part. And these are separated by the dot sign. Now, let's see different types of decimals. So we have like decimals. Like decimals are those decimals which have the same number of decimal places. So these all are the like decimals because they all have two decimal places. Unlike decimals, two or more decimals which have different number of decimal places are known as unlike decimals. Like these have different decimal places. Now let's see different operations on decimals. First we will see the multiplication of decimal numbers. So let's take an example. Suppose you have to multiply these two decimal numbers. So first we have to multiply them as whole numbers. So we have to ignore these points, decimal points, and we have to make it at the decimal fraction. So it will be 15 by 10, it will be 5 by 10, then we will simply multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator, then we will put the decimal. So it will be 0.75. So another is if you want to multiply any decimal number by parts of 10, 100 or 1000, we just simply shift the decimal point in the number to the right by as many places as you have number of zeros in the multiplier. So it is like 0.712 into 100. We just simply shift this decimal to the two right as we have two zeros in the 100. So it will be 71.2. Now these examples you have to try yourself. Now come to exercise. This one also you have to do yourself. Now let's see the division of decimal numbers by 10, 100, 1000. So if you divide any decimal by 10, the decimal point will be shifted to the left by one place. If you divide by 100, it will be shifted to the left by the two place. If you divide by 1000, the decimal point will be shifted to the left by the three place, and so on. Now let's see how the division of a decimal by a non-zero whole number takes place. So for this you have to follow two steps. First you have to divide the decimal number by the whole number, just ignoring the decimal point. So when the division of whole number part of the division is complete, then you have to put the decimal point in the quotient and proceed further with the division the way we perform in whole numbers. So suppose you have to divide this 19.81 by 7. So first we have to do it by just considering it as 19. So it will be 7 to the 14. Then we get 5. Then just we will place this decimal into the question. We get point. Then we can put this 8 and we can simply do it as we do in the whole numbers. And another method is that suppose first we will convert it into the fractions and then we will do division as we have learned in the fractions. We just remove this divide, we put into, we will do the reciprocal of 7, we get 1 by 7, then we simplify it, we get 2.83. So you can choose any of these two methods. Now let's see how the division of a decimal number by another decimal number. So first we have to convert the divisor into the whole number by multiplying the divisor and dividend by 10, 100 or 1000. Now we can proceed as we divide a decimal number by a non-zero whole number. Now come to exercise 3.2. This one you have to do yourself. Now come to word problems. A certain sum of money is distributed among 26 persons. If each person receives rupees 85.50, what is sum of money distributed? So this amount of money needs to be distributed among 26 persons. So we will multiply 85.50 by 26. So we get this. Like this you can do other word problems. Now come to exercise 3.3. This one you have to do yourself. Now let's see how you can simplify numerical expressions. 2.8 into 15.6 of 0.4 divided by 4. So 2.8 into 15.6 of 0.4 divided by 4. So first we will do the operation of off. So it will be 15.6 into 0.4. We get 6.24. Then we will do division. So we get 2.8 into 1.56. Then we will do multiplication. So we get this. So in this way you can do the simplification. You have to follow the BODMAS rule. Now come to exercise 3.4. This one you have to do yourself.